Well, it's now time for Hope Live on a beautiful day like this one as we get started with the month of June in the year 2025. If I was to depress you a little bit, I'll tell you that you were planning for things to be done in the year 2025. Just for your information, 6 months down the line have gone. What is remaining is another 6 months journey to the end of 2025. We made resolutions at the start of the year, and how is it going? Maybe we should do a review really and check on what you're supposed to do. Somebody was telling me that we somehow needed to bring to this program Dr. Daniel Kabani so that we can check on what we laid as a foundation at the start of the year and how it is moving. Remember the many topics that we have been discussing on this particular program platform. We said so many things about planning resolutions and all these things put together. Now, this is June, the 6th month of the year 2025. How has it been this far? And counting to the end of the year, another journey that we're going to take like the one we have taken already. Are we moving according to our plans, or now we've reached at a point where we are saying, well, serendipity has to take place. By chance, we are going to achieve. By chance, we're going to fulfill. By chance, but then planning also becomes important. If I was to advise you and motivate you even further, I would tell you that it's not too late. We can still start something now and achieve it before the year 2025 comes to an end. Well, I'm not looking forward to it ending just yet because there is a lot to be done. Personally, I'm very excited that this year came. It spells a lot of very interesting things in my life, and I'll tell you as time goes on that this is what I exactly meant. But for now, welcome to Hope Live. Today, the 2nd of June 2025. I'm your host. My name is Bright Sinkers, and today we are discussing very interesting topics. We are starting off with one that talks about transferring your thoughts into a printed page that people are going to read your ideas. So what are we saying? From thoughts to pages. And we are going to explore the journey of young writers. And I have with me a gentleman that is going to help us understand all this about writing. And later on in the program, I will be discussing with a governance expert. And on this one, we will be talking about everything relating to the Constitution. Yeah, the Constitution has made too much noise in our time today. It's not the first time, like we established in our news last week, that this has been a problem. And every time it comes, there is misgiving that comes our way. Well, the church, from generally speaking, has thrown its weight. Some from the section of the church are saying it's a bad idea, while others from the side of the church are saying, well, something to go by, and we support government on what government is saying about the Constitution. So we will be zeroing in that discussion a little later. Let's hear what the church has to say. Is it very important? But generally, Constitution, is it anything that we as Christians are supposed to involve ourselves in? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm excited that we'll be talking about this today. For your contributions and your comments, you send us your message to 0976 151517, 0976 151517, and we will be excited to read your text. For those of you watching us on our social platforms, YouTube, Facebook, we are welcoming you just now, and let's get to hear what you have to say depending on the platform you're watching us from. So you can slot in your messages right in our comment section, and we'll be excited to read from that. As we talk about these issues of power, load shedding, and all that, can I remind you that the latest result, rather update from the Zambezi River Authority is indicating that water levels are slowly increasing. As of today, few minutes ago, the Zambezi River Authority has indicated that we are now standing at 20% of usable water for power generation right at the Kariba well. That's not good enough. But can I tell you, for your gadget to remain charged, for your gadget to remain active, for you to watch our programs on social platforms, as Hope Channel Zambia, we are introducing, or we have introduced, what we are calling the Power Bank of Hope. Now, this one is coming to you at Mutengowak Church. Yeah, I'm saying Mutengowak Church because it's very, very cheap, despite the amperage. I hope I'm getting it correct, the word. Yeah, the MHA, the power storage, is something from 20,000, 30,000, going all the way. By the way, we can even get you the one for 100,000 MAH, whatever that means. I have to ask Eudachitalo really, because the technical man there. But that's what we are saying. So you can come through, or you can call us on the same number, text us, and we will agree, if you're outside this Lusaka, for us to send you the Power Bank of Hope. And you know, the best is that when you are charging and you are seeing hope when you're charging your gadget. That's just about the things that we'll have to do as we talk about load shedding. So we have you in check, we have you in sight. Yeah, I'm supposed to get one power bank for you to see that what I'm talking is not from without, but is from within. And so we have the power bank, exactly what I am talking about. Now I have it. This one is for you. It's called Hope Channel Zambia. This is the power bank. You buy it from us at a giveaway price. If you were to ask me, this one is the MAH 30,000. Now, if you get this one, you will be able to charge your phone 6 times and it doesn't drain. 6 times charging. That's more like 2 days for you charging when it is fully charged. It comes with a light. Yeah, you have it. Can you see that one? So you don't have to walk in the dark at night. And then you are able to charge 2 phones at a go on the USB port. And then we have one for macro. So those of us that are using my Android, Jakudala, like me, you have a space where you can charge your Android. Then we have also Type-C. You can plug in your small Type-C there and you'll be able to charge. And then when we talk about the cables, the iPhone users, we have you also covered in this one. We also have Type-C, and then we have the macro, the one I was talking about, Android. Yeah, Android. Then you have also the bigger one for the USB. The beauty about this one is that you can still use it and plug it to the power source, and you'll be able to charge this particular power bank, and it will be full. So you will get this one from Hope Channel Zambia. It's right labeled Hope Channel Zambia, and you can feel the brand here. There are more coming. There are more coming. Place your order today. Even outside Lusaka, we should be able to deliver to you, but of course at a fee. So get in touch with us on our social platforms, but also our contact line 0976 151517, and we'll be able to get it to you delivered as long as we plan. So basically, that's about the Power Bank of Hope. And Hope Alive is ensuring that you are getting that at a very giveaway price. Let's get to what we are here for. Follow us on TikTok as well as YouTube. We'll be able to follow back for those of you on TikTok, Hope Channel Zambia, YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. You'll be able to, we should be able to see what everything else we are doing as Hope Channel Zambia. All right, let's get back to today's business. I did mention that we are talking about the journey of young writers, and I'm joined with me in the studio a gentleman. Yeah, but he's a young gentleman. This is an author Really, I didn't know until now that he is actually an author. Joseph Kapami. I hope I've gotten your name correctly.
Right.
Joseph, it's a great pleasure and honor for us to have you live on Hope Channel Zambia. Welcome to the program.
Thanks a lot, Pastor. A pleasure having you too.
Great. And let's talk about you. Who is Joseph?
Okay, Joseph is a distinguished quality control scientist from Victory Beverages with expertise from chemistry, entrepreneurship, and project management. And as well as this person, called by the name Joseph Pam, is an author of the book, Dare to Begin.
Now, we will be diving into the contents of the book, really. Dare to Begin sounds interesting. But even before we get to talk about the book, you are too many things. Chemistry, that's the one we are using the periodic table for. I didn't really like it in school. I really didn't like it. I'll tell you the reason why. There was too much to memorize. That periodic table was just something, and I was telling myself, all these things I need to know, all that. But away from that, I mean, quality control, quite huge responsibility, and yet you still find yourself writing books. You are an entrepreneur. How did you discover your authorship talent or skill?
Okay. So basically, my skill in writing started way down when I was young. You know, it was at a period when we were staying with our dad. The unfortunate part of us staying with him was that communication was so hard between us and him.
How?
And what was making it so difficult is that he was actually deaf, but quite intelligent. And he was a biomedical scientist in one of the places in Mulvezi.
Mulvezi in Western Province.
In Western Province, yes.
Okay.
So the time I shifted from Mungo to stay with him, one of the challenges that I used to face is how to speak to him using sign languages.
And it wasn't common, I'm sure.
It wasn't common, and even him never knew how to speak using sign language.
Okay.
So the only method that we could actually use whenever we are talking or receiving counsel from him was through writing. And from there, I developed my skill when it comes to writing slowly, and I ended up loving it. And from there, of course, living in Sicily or Mulvezi was quite hard because it was actually at a point where I didn't do well when it comes to academics.
Okay.
So living in Mulvezi, I was simply called to go and stay with one of my aunties and uncles in Livingstone.
My hometown.
That's down my north.
I grew up from there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Sure. So when I joined Livingstone, from there I had a puzzle on how I should make it when it comes to academics and life at large.
But you had reached your grade 12 from Mulvezi?
Yes, I did my grade 12 from Chile Secondary School. That's in Mulvezi.
I know where the school is.
Right.
But before you even go further, when you say you didn't do well academically, you mean you didn't even get a certificate of grade 12?
Okay. Initially, I got my grade 12 certificate, but I couldn't do well in other subjects.
Okay.
So that required me to get back to GCE.
Yeah.
And that was at a period when my auntie and uncle called me to go and stay with them in Livingstone.
And now you have to move from a rural district into an urban district.
That's right, my pastor.
I'm afraid on your behalf.
Sure.
Because you now need to apply yourself very hard
That's
academically because it is competitive in town.
That's very true. That's very true. So when I went to Livingstone, fortunately, my uncle and aunties, they managed to have myself affiliated at St. Raphael's. Wow. And right in there, of course, I sat down for my GCE and I cleared all of my courses without repeating any.
You needed to move to Livingstone.
That's very true. Right. So it was actually from that moment when I actually convinced myself to say, if at all this, any way that I could actually make myself happy is when I can do much better when it comes to academics. And from that moment, I continued loving acumen when it comes to writing.
Okay.
So it was actually at that period of time when I started writing about my stories. Sometimes I could write and post. Whenever I used to have any thought, I could actually print it or write it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'll post it either on WhatsApp or Facebook so that I could keep my thoughts either on the line or on WhatsApp, or I screenshot and then keep it so that when I develop another thought from what I had in the previous thought, it should expand even more further. So
and that's what led to the authorship of the book.
That's very true. And mainly, apart from that, the main print about Dare to Begin, what compelled me to actually have a full copy, it's because of my life experience.
So Dare to Begin is all about you.
It's all about myself and other people who may have faced certain challenges which may be similar to mine, maybe in a different way.
But let's talk about, I'm itching to hear something about your book. I don't know why time crushes me on this program. For some reason, everything about this program is against time. But let me hear from your end the issues of writing. I say so because it's not every one of us, especially if we pick it from where you picked your inspiration, communicating with a deaf person and then lead you to become this author that we are looking forward to really explore. But let's talk about how can young people cultivate and in the process nurture their writing ability, which for some reason might even end up into a book. I ask this because I know that a number of us spend time and write long articles that do not even inspire anything on our social platforms. And yet, we have not realized that it can be transformative in nature. Speak to us on that.
Okay. So mainly, one of the ways in which young people can actually venture into acumen of writing should be, number one, it can be, of course, out of self-experience. But in as much as they want to write a story behind their stories, I think consistency when it comes to writing should be more. Because it shouldn't be a case of today I want to write, then tomorrow I stop. Because writing is a hands-on skill that requires you to keep practicing on a regular basis, not until you perfect. I know most of the young people today do suffer when it comes to perfectionism, because they would want to write in order for them to sound or their work to be read in a perfect way. But that's not a case when it comes to a young writer. It shouldn't be an issue where they ought to learn from their common mistakes. And then from their common mistakes, they should be able to encode with anything or thought that they are planning to write in order for their writing to make sense to many people who might be wanting to read their stories or anything that they're planning to write.
Right, maybe let me ask you this before we even go to your book itself. What role do you think writing and publishing can play in shaping the identity as well as aspiration of young people? And further to that, how can we encourage more young writers to take a leap and share their work to the world?
Okay. Writing and publication plays a significant role in shaping identity and aspiration of young people in various ways. And one of the ways is self-expression and empowerment. Through writing, young people can be able to express themselves with energy and positive. Through writing, they can be able to show their thoughts, their emotions, their disappointments, fostering a sense of empowerment and confidence. Let me give an example from the Bible. Today, when we speak about David, a young man who was once called a young shepherd, a king and a man himself, or a man who was called after God's heart.
Yes,
Yes, and this man I'm talking about is the one who wrote the book of Psalms.
yeah.
And in his book, he wrote so many stories to simply show how life has been to him, how experience of life has been treating him in so many areas. And from his writing, we are able to see his faith. We are able to see his courage. We are able to see his weakest point. And that is to tell us that no matter what we go through in life, if at all we as young people continues to write, there will come a time as we write our stories or the stories of other people, where instead of discouraging people, but to have hope in that I overcame or he overcame. And as many people face so many challenges in life, that will lead them into overcoming certain challenges or setbacks that draws them back or on the ground, not until they win or becoming leaders.
Right. Wow, that's amazing.
And then when it comes to how to give up a leap to them, I think it shouldn't be a case where now our communities should create environments that supports the work of a young writer. They ought to be mentored. They ought to be encouraged. They ought to be criticized. I know criticism may sound to be so rude at times whenever you are faced with someone who is well experienced as you. But if we pick a positive part of it, I think that leads into personal growth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dare to begin. Very, very interesting, because it's your story.
That's really true.
What do you want us to learn from your story in the book? And why should we have it?
There are so many insights and lessons that we ought to learn from Dare to Begin. As I mentioned earlier, I'm one of the guys who once faced failure, and I overcame that. Yet a lot of people have been thinking as though that's a lie. But truly, each and every institution I've been applied. I'm a graduate of Osango University. I have 2 TVETA certificates, and I'm embarking on my MBA with the University of Zambia. So, yet many people, when they look at my story, sometimes it becomes more like a paradox. However, learning on how to dare to begin should be something that should fuel each and every individual who feels as though he can never make it in life, regardless of the setbacks or challenges they once faced. And as they read or maybe dare to begin in their life or in whatsoever acumen that they want to dive in, dare to begin will act as a catalyst to simply believe in yourself, to say, yes, I am a failure, but I strongly believe that I can still make it because God entrusted the energy in me to do whatsoever thing that I can do. Yes, I failed, but that was meant for a purpose. Yes, I can do A, B, C, D, but God still loves me. Yet, you may have no parents, but you don't have any reason to simply hold yourself into captive of not daring to begin. Because the future, I strongly believe, is for each and everyone who dares to begin. Today, when we speak of many leaders, we can speak of KK and many other presidents. The reason as to why we speak about them today is because they dared to venture into so many acumens, not until they became presidents. Yet we don't know how they started. Who knows, maybe they failed 100 times. True. Not until they overcame such.
Well, the current president is one very good example.
So much, so much. But today he's a president and a winner, simply because he dared. So the book itself is more like a catalyst to each and every individual who dares to begin no matter how hard things are. Not until we win.
Are the books on the market? How can people access the books?
Okay. So at the moment the book is out already. I was expecting to receive a package of them right now, but unfortunately the guy who is bringing them to me using a angle, I couldn't get hold of him.
Okay.
So maybe tomorrow or Wednesday I'll have a bunch of them. And in case they would want to anyone who would want to have a copy can simply contact me
All right,
on my
we
number.
have the contacts. We should be able to share with them.
That's
Has the
for
book been launched already?
The book actually will be launched this coming Sunday on the 8th of June.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yep. Let me give you this privilege to share a bit of the details about the launch itself.
Okay. So mainly, the launch itself will be held at Mulungushi Conference Center on Sunday afternoon. Time is 14 to 17 hours. And the program is highly packed.
Tell us.
We have so many brilliant speakers, power speakers, and mentors who are coming from various backgrounds, various acumens. Yet they showed their humbleness to simply stand with me and give me a backup on this event that will be held right at Mulungushi Conference Center. And this book, of course, I did mention to say it's mostly dedicated to people between the age of 18 to 35, but also to elderly people. It can be a time that will remind that elderly person who feels as though he prevaricated a little bit from how things must rightly be done, how things can be put into order. In case maybe one or two or three elderly people, they are stuck in life, yet they do not know what to do. That will be a period of when they're supposed to realign themselves in order to put or compact themselves, not until they resuscitate their energy or God-given energy, not until they begin. It's a book that speaks to dreamers.
Right. So
For sure.
how can people be in the audience at the book launch? Any requirements, or we just have to wait until you launch it privately and then we come and buy the copies?
All right, okay. So we have ticket categories.
Okay.
Yes, we have ticket categories that enables one to enter Mulungushi International Conference Center. And the first category is ordinary ticket that goes at 200 kwacha. VVIP that goes at 350, that comes with a complimentary book. And then we have VVIP that will come with a package of the book plus having access to any of the speakers in case you'd want to engage the speakers that will be speaking, guest speakers that will be speaking with us. Yes, however, we still have good news to most of the students. It can be pupils, especially grade 12s. You know, sometimes it can be hard on how they look at themselves before they enter into community. You know, when you are trained or when you are being kept, everything goes well, not until you hit into a pole of surviving on your own. That's when you realize to say life is hard in community.
True.
So grade 12s and college people, university people are welcome. And the fee is very favorable.
I'm a student.
Only 50 questions.
I'm a student. I'm a student, so I'll come as a student.
You
I'll
will
come
come
as
without
a
any
student.
reservation.
Mr. Kapami, thank you so much for coming through the program
You're
today, and we appreciate hearing that story. It's not yet told. I'll tell you this. I wish it was after the launch, but we will talk to you more about you in the book after the launch, and so be sure to come back here after the launch. Thank you so much for coming through, and we wish you God's blessing.
It's been a pleasure having you.
All right, Joseph Kapami, an author, entrepreneur. What else did he say? Quality controller of the juices that you drink from
Big Tree Beverage.
Big Tree Beverages. Yeah, so now, I'm not advertising for them, but this is the man. So in case you don't like anything from there, this is the man that fails to control. We continue with Hope Live, and up next we will be getting to our main discussion of the program today as we look at the constitutional reform in this country. Too much noise about the Constitution. Do you know anything about the Constitution, the debate that is going on?
I think I have to research.
To research.
You know,
yeah, because I mean, there is a lot that people are saying about the Constitution, and I thought you are one of the people that is maybe saying yes or no.
Oh,
and I was going to ask you why yes, why no, because people are arguing, people are debating. Learned people,
That's right. That's right.
The laymen like myself
That's
are
right.
finding
That's right.
ourselves talking about the Constitution.
Okay.
But I'll tell you something. You need to put interest in that.
So much.
Yeah,
So
all right.
much.
Okay, so we take a break. Joining me after the break for the main discussion on Hope Life today is a governance expert that I'll be able to review to you soon after the break. Keep watching Hope Life.
Like the thrill of catching your own fish. And at Papino Investments, we bring that experience to you. Papino Investments, the home of live fish, has everything you need to make your meals unforgettable.
It has a different taste, and that is why I enjoy coming to this place.
From live fish that you can catch for yourself to smoked fish, just chickens, and beef, we have a wide range of products that will satisfy your shopping needs. And if you're looking for something else, we have a wide range of groceries to choose from, including Hope Channel decorders. At Papino Investments, payment is easy. You can pay with cash or use our mobile money services. Visit us today at Robert's Fish and Veggies Building, Chilenge Market, Lusaka, or call us at 0955 108708 or 0976 543822 or 0965 691909. Papino Investments, the home of live fish.
Get ready to receive a faithful companion in a book titled The Vessel of Hope. This biblical book is an associate for inmates that will offer them a message of healing, purpose, and restoration. It sparks a light that shines even in the darkest places. The Vessel of Hope can be purchased and distributed by NGOs, churches, individuals, and organizations interested in social rehabilitation and prisoners' well-being. Order your copy today at 100 kwacha for a single copy and 700 kwacha for a set of 10 copies. Get in touch with our distributor, Deni Chileka, on 0977 473815 or 0966 473815. Remember, your purchase of the Vessel of Hope can be an inmate's turning point.
So much for still staying with us. This is Hope Live. I'm Bright Sinkozi, your host. I don't know why Mwene has chosen to ghost me, but I will tell you a secret. Mwene has gone to sell the Hope power bank. So it's a power bank of hope. You can get it from us here at Hope Channel Zambia. I talked about the cost. The cost is very, very much affordable. When we talk about Mtengo Waku Church, this is what we mean. I should be able to give you more details about this after the discussion that we are having next on Hope Channel Zambia live, right here on Hope Live. We will now be discussing constitutional reform in Zambia, the implications as well as opportunities. A lot has been said. And here is where the problem is, that majority of us are saying it is bad. And then we are asking the question, what is bad about the constitutional amendment that government is proposing? And then two, we have another category that are saying it is good. And none of them is telling us what is good about the constitution. Of course, we've heard others that are trying to, breathe in the positives, and others are trying to really breathe in the negatives. All these things put together, and especially that the church mother bodies really have responded, some for, some against. The traditional leaders also, some for, some against. And then we're asking ourselves the questions, what is it in for the people of Zambia? Mr. Francisco Mumba, a governance expert, we had him in the news last week. He said, it has been a problem since inception when you talk about a constitutional amendment process. Well, it raises dust. The question then is, why does it raise dust? Does it mean we're comfortable with what we already have? Or maybe we should reach at a point where we say, everyone is agreeable, so let's go for it. Or is anyone doing it for their personal gain? I really don't know, but let's get talking. Mr. Francisco Mumba is here with me in the studio. He is a governance expert. Other details I have to find out from him if I can give you. But Mr. Mumba, a privilege and a pleasure to sit down with you right here at Hope Channel. Welcome to the program, and welcome to Hope Channel Zambia.
Thank you very much, Bright. I'm glad I'm here. It's my first time being here. Of course, you have
not the
beautiful
last,
studio. Oh, of course, I think we'll have more interactions.
Indeed.
But I think I'm glad I'm here.
It's an honor to have you right here.
Thank you.
We did contact you last week for the purposes of news, and we thought that was not enough. That's why we've summoned you to come through to the studio. We appreciate you taking off time from your busy schedule to come and discuss this very important issue bordering on the Constitution. Government has proposed that there should be the Constitution amended this year, leading into next year's elections. A lot of misgivings. I'll tell you some of the things that I see on social media. I ask myself a question and say, but then where did this one get this one? But here is where it started from. The president was gracing the International Women's Day in Kasama, if I'm not mistaken. And then he said, we are going to amend the Constitution in order for us to bring women, young people, as well as the disabled people into parliament. And from that time, it's been the talk, and before we knew it, there was this proposal and the roadmap given and all this. And today people are talking. At least now people are talking from a point of, information that has already filtered through government gazette that has been issued to really show what it is that they're trying to, bring to the table. But before we even talk about the Constitution itself, let me again ask you, Mr. Mumba, the Constitution amendment. Why is it such a thorny issue in this country to a point where we have division amongst ourselves? Some saying, yes, let's do it, and others are saying, no, we shouldn't do that. Why do we need to amend the Constitution? Or why shouldn't we amend the Constitution of the country?
Right. Bright, I think what I've said before, and I'm going to say it even here now, that for me, the Constitution should be a living document.
Right.
So when it is a living document, the Constitution must be relevant to me every day. So if it comes at a point, this document veers off, it's not relevant to my well-being, there is need to change it. So I don't come from the philosophical thinking that a constitution must stand the test of time. I come from the thinking that the constitution must be a living document. And to answer your question, is this document relevant to me today? That's a key question that ought to be answered. But it's very important too that whenever we want to talk about constitutional amendments or drafting a constitution, none of us bright, none of us, that individual out there, should be wearing a regalia of a political party.
Right.
That is the starting point of trouble. A constitution, a grand norm, the most important law of the land, often is a basic law. This is the law that you give yourselves in the preamble of the Constitution, that we, the people. What it means is that you, the people, you give yourself this document to refer to it on any matter that pertains to the well-being of the people of the country, be it development, socially, and any other. The Constitution becomes our document.
Not a political party.
Not a political party. So it is from this position, Bright, that you have seen there has been contestation as regards constitutional amendment, because often politicians take the lead. And these politicians wear political regalia. And another political party sees that because it is this political party that is taking the lead, it means they want to bring in articles in the Constitution that will entrench them in government. This is where we lost it all.
And unfortunately, this has been the trend over time. How can we depoliticize constitutional making process in this country? From your expertise as a governance expert, how can we depoliticize the constitutional making process in this country?
Like indicated, Bright, that this is a document for the people.
Indeed.
So allow the people, I'm emphasizing, allow the people to participate fully. But at the same time, don't forget that we elect government to represent us.
Exactly.
So government must take the lead. So government must, in itself, provide a mechanism how the people must participate. Because I'll tell you where the problem has come, like you've indicated historically, that this idea came about when the president was attending the Women's Day. But it wasn't just that day, Bright. There was also some discussion in one of the radio stations, and I recall very well, I listened to that interview, where it was indicated, a staff from State House, that there was a document. So this is actually what has created a lot of this discussion, to mean that did government consult the people? But at the same time, like I've indicated, government is elected into, a political party is elected into government to lead. So governments must take the lead. So government can propose.
Okay.
Probably, maybe what needs to be done most is how much more should it have been given in terms of time that the people participate, throw in their views. This is where the problem comes in. And I'll tell you what, I don't think there is anyone who is against this process. What I'm seeing, the contestation from the civil society point of view, it's about consensus and about getting to the people. But this is where the problem comes in. How much should that be getting to the people?
Okay, let's probably narrow it down this way, Mr. Mumba. When you look at the provisions that have been already advanced in terms of the proposals, number one, we have I think it's highly contentious in the discussions, the issue of delimitation, which I want to believe that it has not started now. For a long time, there have been people that have been talking about streaming down our constituencies because they are too big, especially at the point where government, the current government, did introduce the Constituency Development Fund, where you have this smaller constitution getting the same amount with a bigger constitution, and that really raised a lot of issues. Also, women representation, youth representation, and representation by persons living with disability. All that has been coming over time. And one would want to think government heard what people were saying over time and then pushed through these things, plus the many other issues to do with the by-elections, for example. Right now, the country is expecting 2 big by-elections, one in June, another one in July. And from the proposal, we are being told this issue of by-election should not be an issue. But again, people have raised issues over that to say, if a political party doesn't love this particular member of parliament, then they are going to push through the issue of removing that person to appoint another person that they like. We seemingly have sorted the gap really over the presidents, because back in the time we had, if a president dies, then we are going to go to a by-election. But the introduction of the running mate, which came, was it in 2016, thereabout, has cured that problem. In an event, God forbid, a sitting president dies, then the vice president, who was a running mate at the time of the election, will assume the office of the president, which has also destroyed what used to be where the president just picks one. They're not happy today, drop them, and then pick another one. You have 4 or 5 presidents in 5 years and all that. When we look at all these situations or proposals that government has pushed in place, there have been people's voices. Should government really, did government need to again go back to the people and say, should we go in this direction, or what is the missing link that has brought about contestation, as you are putting it?
Well, Bright, one of the, I think, most issue that we need to refer to when we are addressing the issue of this constitutional amendment is that always constitutional making process amendment is always viewed with suspicion. I have gone through Bill 7.
Okay. The current proposal.
The current Bill 7 of 2025. I'll be honest with you, I found a little bit, or probably, I don't know how I can put it. I ask myself, where is the big problem? That's a question I'm asking myself. Maybe let me pick the article that you've referred, Article 58. Article 58 basically is referring to the delimitation.
True.
Should we do delimitation? Yes. Why should we do a delimitation? First, let's fly back to the entire constitution, especially let's talk about Article 8 in the Zambian constitution, which talks about that this country, shall be, governed on the basis of what? Democracy and constitutionalism. And what is democracy? Democracy basically is giving you and I the freedom. But what is constitutionalism? Constitutionalism, Bright, is basically that as a government, as a people, we should be able to respect or follow the Constitution. That's basically what constitutionalism means. Now, if you get to Article 58, which is actually should be addressed, is it Article 68 in the Constitution, where it provides that after 10 years, there should be delimitation. And if 10 years has come, you need to do that. But of course, you need to review. So if government has reviewed and they have decided that I think there is need, based on what we see, I tell you what, I come from Malambo constituency. Specifically, I come from Chieftainess Msoro. But if we speak of Malambo constituency, it's a vast constituency.
Yeah.
It's vast. It's got about 6 chiefdoms. Vast. So, in respect of representation, you are, or whoever is there, does not give that effective representation to ensure that he gets round to everybody. Of course, I'm aware that a member of parliament does not bring development. A member of parliament, one of his key duties is to legislate. But I'll tell you what, at the same time, we should not shy away from a fact that people or members of parliament, they are asked by parliament itself that you get back to your constituencies. Why do they go back? You find there's a constituent office there to represent, to hear the views of the public. So if it is vast, meaning you are not being effective in terms of representation. So doing delimitation, who is it going to
benefit?
Basically, that's the word I'm looking for. Who is it going to benefit? Is it a political party or the public, the people in the constituency?
But maybe
it's
the issue,
the
issue of strongholds comes in because people are suspecting the delimitation. Once it happens, then strongholds come in place. I'm not really, yeah.
Bright, this is another problem that we have. We often, we often, throw opinions on things that we do not have facts. Because look, yes, strongholds, but who has indicated that, I'm not too sure, probably it's somewhere else, maybe it's the fear of politicians now, those from the other camp, other than from government, to think government is going to fall on the constituencies that are what? That, it is very strong. But is that what we are given? But I'll give you one area where another discussion of this nature came about, where it was indicated that the bill wants to take care of ministers, that they remain in the office until elections, so that government can benefit from resources. But you've seen in this bill, if you've gone through, I think it's addressed, because that issue is addressed under 116.
Oh, yeah.
So it has indicated that members of parliament, ministers shall vacate their offices. How long?
90 days.
3 months, 90 days before elections. And yet what was running was that this is the position that government wants to do. So all this is suspicion. Nothing else. It's
Without
suspicion.
facts.
But at the same time, I would have loved, government should have also gone, ahead in terms of sharing the report. Even if this report is with ECZ, let ECZ share the delimitation report. That indicates areas that needs to be addressed. Now, I'll tell you another part that linked to this Bright. There's been also discussion saying, look, we are struggling economically. Why should we be bothered to create more constituencies, in other words, more money spending? Unfortunately, democracy, you need to spend. But let me just give you just a picture in the region. Bright, we have Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, in terms of size, it is 390, 580 square kilometers, with about, I think it's going into 13, 14 million people in Zimbabwe, right?
Slightly under Zambia.
The size of a country is smaller. If we talk about the population is smaller. Check how many members of parliament is it got? 280 members of parliament. Those that are elected directly, I think is 210. Let's walk to Malawi. Malawi has about 21, 22 million people today, with a size of 193, if I'm not mistaken, 1,000, plus square kilometers. Malawi, right? If we look at how many members of parliament, 193. That indicates to us probably, okay, a key one that I want to say is 118, if it's at 118, 484 square kilometers. How many members of parliament? 193. Population, 21 million. Let's pick Kenya, because Kenya's constitution is almost similar to Zambian constitution.
Okay.
Kenya has 57 million people in that country, and Kenya is slightly bigger than Zambia. Kenya is about 580, Zambia is 572. A difference of about 7.
7, yeah.
How many members of parliament? 349. Zambia, 752, 618 square kilometers. How many members of parliament today? 156. So if you look at in the region, I think to position the country in terms of giving effective representation, there is need to increase these numbers, of constituencies, to ensure that there is effective representation by shrinking numbers and size of those people that are going to be seen by one member of parliament.
You raised the issue of capacity, which is on people's minds, especially now that the Minister of Health did say something about not having the capacity to employ the doctors that are not yet employed. And then people are saying, if we have money to go through this process, if we have money to run through this constitutional amendment and then increase the number of parliamentarians to, is it 211, then we are not being true to ourselves. Money is there, or maybe we don't have actually the money to do through this process. Why can't government hold on? You as a governance expert, really, you have seen these things over time. You have already alluded to the fact that it has always been contested each time it comes. And you believe in a living constitution. By that, if I'm hearing you correctly, you are saying yes to the constitution amendment even at this particular time. Is there any best time that we would talk about constitution amendment in terms of resources, but also timing?
Bright, government is a system. it's very important to appreciate that government is a system. And when you're talking about government, we speak of the legislature, we speak of the executive, we speak of the judiciary. All these three make up what is referred to as what? Government. And yes, when you get into a government running, it will deal with so many other areas. It will deal with the economy. It will deal with the social aspect of it. So, if there are resources, it doesn't necessarily mean that because there are enough resources that should be channels to issues of governance, we can stop that part and channel it to employing other people. This is a more reason bright when every year stands or towards the end of the year, Parliament opens and the Minister of Finance presents a budget. So these areas are budgeted for. So you are not going to say, because we have not spent much in this area, so let's take this money to elsewhere. You're going to make another area deficient. Of course, I know that this country needs a lot of doctors. The population has grown. But you are not going to shut off. For instance, you can also say that, okay, because we need to employ more doctors, let's not have elections in 2026 so that we save money.
They will not agree because
No, I'm trying to put that.
Yeah, so I get you.
It doesn't run that way. No, it doesn't run that way. You need all these areas to be balanced for a country to move forward. That's what it's supposed to be. Now, further, you are talking about the issue of delimitation. This is actually one area, in my view, is highly contested. The reason is that they are saying because they may do the delimitation in the areas where government, is strong. Yeah, so how many of these constituencies that we expect? 55. There are 55 for it to run to 211. So out of these 55, if you are not going to see, for instance, Rufunsa is a big constituency. Lumezi is a big constituency. Malole in Northern Province, a big constituency. All these are big constituencies. In whatever government would want to do, these are constituencies that needs to be addressed because they are huge. In fact, Malole is huge. So here is the issue. We should not begin because maybe we are doubtful of the interest of government and begin to bring in fears that this is done in this manner because they want to entrench. In fact, I've heard reasons that if this bill is allowed to pass, government has won. How?
Yeah.
Reason also thrown back to the 35. 35, those that are going to be addressed under the mixed member proportion. 35. 20 women, 3 disabilities, and 12 young people, making it 35. But again, you're going to ask yourself, why can't political parties ensure that they pick up a big chunk of 35? Because are you aware how the people are going to be picked? Because the electoral system, in the manner that is being proposed in Bill 7, will change it from the 2 system that we use to a 3 system that is going to be used. We have the majoritarian system on election of who? The president, 50% plus 1. That remains. Then we have the first, past the post, remains for who? The members of parliament, which they are saying constituency-based members of parliament. Then you have the mixed member proportion, which is addressing 35. If you go in most of these countries around this region, it's exactly what is happening. So Zambia, what Zambia is doing, in my view, is not in an isolation. It's almost what most of these countries in the region are doing.
Maybe we're not ready as a country.
Ready in terms of
Capacity.
which capacity now?
So many reasons are being given. Financial,
Resource
political
capacity?
instability, economic is not doing fine. Economically, we are not doing fine according to what people are saying.
Bright, it's a truth that the economy is biting out there. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see this, that truly the economy is biting. I've heard also arguments. I'm going to throw this argument so that you appreciate actually, based on what these arguments are coming about. When the 65 million, was it 65 million, was it a kwacha or dollars? That was, forfeited from faith.
Dollars.
$65 million, right? There were arguments that why can't Zambia?
Yeah, it should have been kwacha, 65 million kwacha.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever amount.
Yeah.
I just want to use that for argument's sake.
Yeah.
And the argument of Zambians was that we are, as a people, about 20 million. You recall?
Yes.
Then the argument was, why can't you distribute that money to each one of us who be rich? It doesn't operate that way. Systems don't operate that way. So you will never be ready in terms of resources vis-a-vis promotion of democracy. Because if you want to say we want to keep back resources because we want to promote democracy, then you might as well also kill that democracy, because you're going to tell yourselves that we shouldn't have elections in 2026 because we don't have the money. But government has to find the money. Whether we have it or not, elections have to go on. Why? Because we choose our representatives through election, and yet it is expensive. This needs to be appreciated.
Mr. Mumba, from the proposed constitutional amendments, we do see that while political players are throwing their weight either on the opposite or the positive side by agreeing or disagreeing, we have a number of ordinary citizens that really don't even know. Just before you came on the platform, I did ask the guest that I had his input on the Constitution, and you can clearly see that for him and many other like him, they don't even see the good and the bad side of going through this particular process. But how can we, as we conclude, how can we, or how can the government and the citizens work together to build consensus and ensure that the constitutional amendment process serves the best interests of the country?
That's a very good question. Bright, we are in a representative, democracy. As a people, we belong to a constituency. One of, I think, important factor that should be brought in here, in my view, shouldn't have been maybe the minister alone to traverse the country to hear the views, if at all that's what is happening. In my view, we should have used members of parliament to get back to their respective constituencies. Of course, the unfortunate part of all this is that we bring in partisan issues as regards constitutional making. So even when parliamentarians may get back to their constituencies, they have already an opinion. That's where the problem is. But that being said, it is important that whatever they are going to raise, let the members of parliament go back to their constituencies. Of course, let government, using the channels that government has, continue to sensitize the public, so that we, as a people, appreciate why we need these amendments. It is very important, because failure to reach consensus come years from now, we'll be on this same position. reason is that others who will have been, come in, or maybe way after this government will have left, they also want to bring in, their part. Why? Because we don't agree right from the beginning in terms of consensus that, yes, this is a document that all of us have agreed. The unfortunate part of this is that the document continues to divide the country. I think in your preamble, you have indicated that the church mother bodies, there are different thinking coming from. Not too sure whether the church mother bodies, the executive itself, they are talking differently. The membership is talking different. Or the membership is talking different, or the executive speaks a different language. So this should not be the case, because we are dividing the nation with an issue that should be bringing us together. That's where the unfortunate thing comes in. So government, irrespective of whatever comes out from the public, has a duty to go and sensitize the public, let the public understand, because like you've indicated, here is a gentleman sitting here, is an author. You will have expected to have a lot of knowledge, input into it. But he says, until maybe let me get to the ground. So it means there is information missing. More so if you walk into these compounds, there's a lot of information missing. The information that gets to the minds or gets to the people is that information that is misleading. Unfortunately, the public looks at it that, oh, these amendments wants to be done, maybe because this country wants to, okay, maybe because they want to entrench government. That is where the problem is.
And make
can we
a life
undo,
president?
yes, can we undo the misconceptions that we have?
Okay. If somebody, as we close, walked through here and asked you for your opinion with regards to the constitutional amendment proposal, say, Mr. Mumba, government is proposing that we amend our constitution in the areas that have been indicated, the articles that you were referring to, and many other, not too many, of course, and somebody comes and asks you, Mr. Mumba, what do you think about the proposed constitutional amendment? Should government go ahead with it or not? What would be your take?
Like I indicated, Bright, maybe before I make or I submit my opinion.
Okay.
One of the clauses that I've indicated here is not about anyone's opinion. It's about the Constitution.
Constitution, yeah.
So like I've indicated, constitutionalism is basically, this the ability to respect the Constitution.
Constitution.
So there are some, of course, it's responding to the Constitution. There's an area, personally, I've looked at it that probably we are creating more trouble in terms of Article 52. And the document at this stage is seeking for, what we can, throw in as the public or as the people, that please, in as much as you are seeking to amend the Constitution, but this area needs to be addressed. In my view, 52, I would have loved that probably your TV is able to bring out this. 52.6. To do with, if you find an individual that was supposed to have, stood as a member of parliament and is not eligible to stand, that the elections will go ahead. The elections will go ahead, meaning you are not giving an opportunity to the political party that nominated this individual to go and stand. Now, critical out of this, Alex, is that, Bright, is that it has, potential to be abused in the manner, the way it is couched. 52(6), especially C, it has the potential to be abused. My take would be, I think there is need to revisit this article. Now, throwing my opinion, like I've indicated, for me, an amendment can take place at any time. I'm working in here discussing this away from politics.
True.
So for me, I'm not looking at which political party or which this misgiving is coming in to think government is doing this for the benefit to entrench themselves or not. I'm looking at the totality of amending the Constitution. True that the first point should have been, which you indicated, that who decided that we should amend the Constitution? Correctly so, that there's always been noise around the Constitution. There have been decisions made from the courts where people have said, but why is our Constitution in this manner? There is need to do what? To refine our Constitution. And basically, as a government, probably they took the first step saying, I think we need to address this issue. And they came up to say, we are going to address, amend the Constitution. For me, this amendment, I have no qualms. I don't have a problem in terms of amending it. This is on the basis of a constitution, not on the basis of politics. I don't have this mind to think, because government is doing this, maybe they want to have this. I don't have that mind. But we can hold government accountable if they do this. I'll tell you what, how much government can do in entrenching itself when the public have said, no, enough is enough. There is nothing that can be there to protect them. So let's hold them to their word. If they are saying nothing that they want to use to entrench themselves, let's hold them to their word. If it is true, that's what is going to come about. I'll tell you, Bright, that the public, we have the power to put in any government, we have the power to take out any government. So for me, I think there is need to address this constitution. Whether you're going to address this constitution now, be it. If you want to address this constitution next year, be it. But we need a document that is going to be relevant to me and you.
Right, I wish we had too much time to even discuss further, especially when you pick in and out a certain aspect in the articles that you are uncomfortable with. And yet the other areas you feel, because it's constitutionalism, so let's go ahead because the Constitution says thus.